Good evening, everybody, and welcome to One World, One Blood Bowl, episode 19. I have collected a collection of collectors, and collectively we're going to discuss Blood Bowl collecting. Where does collecting sit within the space of playing Blood Bowl? I think there's a little bit of a collector in all of us, and certainly there's a lot of collecting that goes on alongside Blood Bowl. If you've been to the tabletop tournaments, you'll come away with some stuff. If you've been to more than one, you've come away and you've started a collection. But the three guys I've got with us this evening, in no particular order, but I believe next to me on your screen is Steve Green, also known as Greenburger. And then down in the bottom corner we have a Rolex NAF, who is on one frame every roughly 5 minutes, we estimate. But we can hear him perfectly. So hello, Rolex.
Hello.
So we're pleased to have him with us. And then directly beneath me is the legend that is the Bymster. Hello, Bymster.
Hi.
And three more, a greater collection of collectors I could not possibly have found. I bring to you this evening the dice collector, the team collector, and the everything to do with Blood Bowl collectors. And I just want to talk to them about that. I think that's an interesting subject we haven't touched on yet. We need to talk more about painting. I'm definitely going to have to do something about that in the next few episodes. And the next one actually will be a week today because I'm going on holiday and the summer's all messed up. It kind of makes sense. And a week today, we're going to do toxicity in Blood Bowl. I've invited three very toxic members of the community on, and we're going to discuss Blood Bowl and toxicity, what it means, is it okay, how do we define it, is there too much of it, too little of it, all that sort of stuff. But this one is about the collectors. So this one's also going to be very, very visual. So for those of you on Spotify, I'm going to try really hard to describe along what we're having a look at. As are obviously the people that we've got here to describe and possibly even defend their collections to some degree. So I think without further ado, let's launch straight in. Now we have got they've been very, very nice this week. They've given me a variety of things to show you. We've a PowerPoint presentation of the beautiful teams of Rolex NAF, and we've some lovely slides of the collections of both Greenburger and BIM. I'm just going to see whichever one comes up first, and then we're going to have a look at those and sort of tell you what we see, and then talk about collecting. So I think first up is going to be you actually, Greenburger. I think. Let me just have a look at that and check that when I cut to this. Yeah, there we go. That would appear to be your hobby cupboard. So we're just going to talk about that in a second. You collect Blood Bowl stuff, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah, and it's quite an eclectic mix, that cupboard. There's some embarrassing aspects to it. I think I've got a penchant for things still in their plastic, or I trap figures still in their blisters and such like, and which is I think the biggest. If I get any kind of feedback and concern from my fellow blood bowlers, it's probably that is set it free. Why should it sit there in its shrink wrap? Let's see it out. Let's get it used and painted. But I've got this kind of, an abhorrence. And I have got loose figures and I have got teams and I do let some out. But I trap a lot of them in their boxes and collect them up, including different versions, old versions of the game. So I
So
do play
yeah, starting here
Overwatch.
right at the very top of the cupboard, we have Blood Bowl from the very first editions, didn't we? And the
Yeah,
second
yeah,
edition and the classic Dungeon Bowl boxes there we can see.
that's right. That's right. And some are open,
The
some
the
aren't.
death zones and
Wow,
yeah,
look at all
lots of the
that shrink
wrappers
wrap.
still on that. The shrink wrap. There's that. I believe that increases its value in the collecting world.
It does. There's certainly a cachet for items which haven't seen the light of day and are unplayed and untouched.
And
But
there's all those original teams, of course.
yeah,
And
yeah, you see some second edition teams there, some kind of limited edition sort of figures.
now
All
we're
the
not
film.
we're not telling people where your house is, are we? So they're not going to be able to break in and take this away with them. The
Absolutely. Well, I live in the Atlantic on an island, so it's a particular challenge
the
probably to get
the,
it back on the
the
plane and the
classic red Blood
passport.
Bowl boxes there, of course. All the
Crazy Island.
all the pictures completely unopened, all in their shrink wrap. Absolutely beautiful collection.
Uh,
And down there, I
I'll,
mean, what
I'll,
have we got
I'll,
here? All sorts of spikes and compilations and star players. Just a few little players down the bottom, and of course some dice cups. No collection complete without a few dice cups.
No,
Um,
no.
It's incredible. That is your Blood Bowl collection. That's what you're here to talk about, is it?
I guess no, that's probably part of it. Um, there's certainly, on top of that, sort of, I have a few dice myself. Knocking around my desk here, which I enjoy using.
So the
I've got
next
all
the
of
next
these
shot I've
loose.
got lined up is this one. That's of course an entire field of beautiful metal tokens, from your classic apothecary tokens, refs tokens. We've got some even the new ball tokens. There's been a lot of development in ball tokens, new about 5 or 6 years ago. Now we've got the ball rings that also often on the back tell you the throwing range,
Careful.
sometimes tell you the 1 to 8 of where the scatter templates are on top of them. There we are, you see some with the throwing ranges on the back. Just incredible, the movement in the sort of quality of products around in the Blood Bowl field. A lot of these, of
Yeah,
course, metal, which is again very new in the last few years for making of your Blood Bowl bits and bobs, isn't it? But an entire
yeah. I mean,
page there.
that's right. I mean, if you go to there at the very bottom, the original ones from Charlie Alpha himself, who just has incredible products,
Mm.
you know, and a whole range of them. There we go, and dice cups and various dice and stuff like. So I think he sort of set the particular bar, I think, for the ball tokens. Yeah.
So we've seen quite a lot of your collection, but then I have further evidence. We have, of course, this, which is it seems to be every star player in their original blister pack, unopened.
Pretty much, yeah. So those are the Forge World. That's the Forge World range.
Incredible. I
I'm
have
missing
painting
a.
friends that would genuinely kill you if they could gain access to 4 or 5 of those that they've been searching for forever. These unexplained plastic boxes you sent me pictures of, is this part of the collection too oblique to even get into the collection status?
So I mean, these are blisters. So they go back from the very first editions all the way up to fifth edition, where we waved goodbye to the standard blister. Um, Pretty much all of them. There are a couple still I'm looking for. A couple of Grail items from fifth edition. The elusive Dark Elf assassins. Haven't even seen them in a blister pack, but I'm pretty sure they were in one. But bar that, even dice, there's even dice poking out in the top left on one of those boxes there. I do need to find a good way of displaying these. I haven't
Yes,
kind of worked it out yet.
you were described to me as someone that's collected everything in Blood Bowl. Is that fair? You just if it's to
No,
do with Blood
no.
Bowl, you just
I would think everything I can collect up to 2016. So it's more of an antiquarian feel
right.
to most collection, I think. I haven't kind of delved into everything recently apart from Forge World. Um, I kind of felt at the time it was a limited set, because it was offered, they only produced so much in Games Workshop. I could feasibly finish a collection,
Right.
but and I'm close to up to fifth edition, pretty close. But that's taken many years, I think, to
And
get
that's of everything Games Workshop put out in the space of Blood Bowl.
publications, uh, yeah, dice, figures, loose and in boxes. Absolutely, it's a
Incredible.
completionist thing.
It's a
I think
completionist thing, yeah. It's become a quest, has it, to really to say
yeah.
one day that's first edition done, second edition done, third edition done. Put that stamp on it and say I have all of that.
That's right. Yeah, I mean that's why I think it's something. I think if you're a collector and you're looking at a particular set, there's something dice are very different. You see, dice are constantly coming out. They're constant flow. But with the Games Workshop kind of figure sets and the product lines, you can almost collect it all if you spend long enough at it. And that kind of
Bimster, is this
appeals.
true? You're an ephemeral man living in a stream of ever-changing content.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have put it better. Yeah, it is a stream of little plastic cubes rattling around,
All right.
always ending up on a one.
Well, of course they do. Keep your madness in its box. We'll come back to it, I'm sure. Um, Steve, the two shots that you gave me that I think I'm the most excited about showing people. So we've shown them your huge plastic tubs of as yet to be displayed collection. Your completionist need, those wonderful blisters just covering every single style player, an entire sort of double, well, 4 sides of A4 of tight little pockets of beautiful little metal tokens. I'm a huge fan of the metal tokens. I went to an event just 2 weeks ago, the Pearly Kings and Queens. Didn't do particularly well. One of my worst events ever. One of the things that made it really fun, the giveaway was just four little metal re-roll tokens, but small and beautifully made. And I think they're my new favourite re-rolls until I get given another set of re-rolls, which I no doubt will be at some event very, very soon. You do just accrue stuff whether you wish to or not. Was that what got you started? Was it just that you found you had some stuff and that formed the need, or did you absolutely set about it and say, no, I'm going to go back and get this stuff?
Yeah, I think it's the latter actually. I mean, I love my dice and I treasure the things that I come across in the course of playing. I love going to tournaments. We've got a great scene here in Tenerife and in Spain, and those are the things I probably treasure most actually. Um, that you come across and they're going to have a context and value to them. But no, I think even from a young lad, I had collections. It was bookmarks, it was key rings, and I have a lot of other Games Workshop stuff, not just sort of game, a Blood Bowl. So what actually attracted me to Blood Bowl was probably the love of the game and the community more than
Right.
anything. I have a whole bunch of Warhammer and 40k and other things like that. But why Blood Bowl? I think it's just a game that captured my imagination. And having
So
been to,
Blood Bowl captured you, and you brought your collecting in with that.
that's right, it kind of translated. I tried to get out, and it just dragged me back
It drags you
in.
back in. Well, and when you have such beautiful pieces as these last two, which I really, really want to show, so let's just put these up. They are absolutely stunning, and I think we'll move from just collections to things that will make people awed to see that this is in your collection. This is the first of those two lovely pictures you sent me. Can you explain to us what we're looking at here?
I mean, Wayne England generally as a Games Workshop artist, I've always loved. I love these characters he gets into his work, and you see it across lots of different genres in Games Workshop. But this is the fans, so this was in the third edition manual, um, and there's a number of these illustrations out there in the ephemeral. This is the one I managed to pick up, um, but it's just great, isn't it? I mean, I think third edition for me was my favourite. I think if you looked at Wayne England and Pete Nifton's artwork, it had a certain comic value to it. It didn't take itself too seriously, and I think for me
Yes,
that's
it
the ball
absolutely
I
set the tone as brutal but funny. I
brutal,
felt.
funny, humoured,
Yeah.
and it was
Speaking of which,
wonderful.
what's going on in this other piece here? This lovely one.
Well, I mean, this one's more recent, but by an artist that Carl Critchlow, who's
Mm.
an old school artist who created a lot of great work back in the day, what I call the golden age, of Warhammer and such like. But this is one he did quite recently, and it was in Spike. And then when the new edition rulebook turned up, and there it was in there. It had been coloured in though, which wasn't his original sort of piece. That would have been more like the comic artwork and such like. But yeah, it's hard to find artwork actually. It's hard to find original artwork, particularly older stuff.
Hmm.
A lot of that actually, from what I understand, was thrown in a big skip at a certain point,
Yes,
along with.
you can imagine that someone thought, yeah, we've done this. We don't need this anymore.
That's right. Well, they had a room which was part of the studio, and in there they had a bunch of drawers which held the artwork. And there was an apocryphal day relayed to me by one of the Games Workshop staffers when someone came literally with bin bags and cleared a whole bunch of it out. And we think that's where most of Pete Nifton's work ended up.
No. I
Yeah,
mean, I've
so
met Pete Nifton, lovely, lovely chap, and a fantastic artist still, but
yeah,
that
absolutely. And
iconic stuff he did back in the early editions was just, to me, that was Blood Bowl. That was the iconography of Blood Bowl.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. You
you'd
won't find.
hope nowadays that these media savvy companies would have an archivist specifically going around saying, "Oh, we need to keep this and this and this." I suspect
Oh,
that.
they do now. They do actually now. So they have an individual solely at Games Workshop for archiving their intellectual property. And it's a team, an individual manages it, runs it, and it's terabytes of artwork now.
There's
Yeah.
there's there's a part of me thinking that's a wonderful thing for the future. There's a part of me thinking that's a terrifying thing about intellectual property and the
Yeah.
right to own things. But yeah, we'll never live in the world where someone finds a copy of the Beatles handwritten, in their grandmother's loft again. That I think those days are gone. Um,
Yeah, I
and,
think you'd be right.
and perhaps the game came at the point where we were surfing over those edges. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's a beautiful collection. You've got some absolutely beautiful things. Um,
yeah.
why? Where does that intersect with you playing Blood Bowl? You said that you've got an active scene in Tenerife, which is where you live. Hence, you're not just wearing a
Yeah,
false tan or getting the heat wave ahead of the rest of us. You're genuinely brown, aren't you? Um,
yeah. No, it's hot here generally
nothing,
most of the year,
nothing you've shown us in
but
this beautiful historic collection is usable in modern Blood Bowl, is it? I mean, can you play any of those teams still? Do you bring them to the tabletop?
yeah, I tend to use third edition teams for the teams that I play. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and most of them fit in quite nicely. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a wonderful scene here. I mean, we have leagues. I have face-to-face leagues. I fumble, and I play regularly across various leagues and such like. I intend to travel more. Lots of my friends here went to Bilbali this weekend. Unfortunately, I couldn't go, but I intend to go. And the leagues actually in the tournaments in Spain are big. They're big, well attended things. So I was delighted when I moved over that I had some fellow blood bowlers I could draw on. Yeah, absolutely. But it does get used. My dice do get used. I have my set that I reach for. And such like. But yeah, no, as much. But sadly, and to the malaise of many people, most of my collection will stay under its plastic or suffocated in its blister
Well, I
packs.
mean, if that's what gives you joy, then I mean, who is anyone to say otherwise? Does it give you joy? Do you? Is it just wallpaper now, or do you actively sit there
I,
looking at it and playing with it? And
yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I'm surrounded by it. I tend to, this is my work life. Serious. A couple of pictures in the background, maybe for those that know about fancy Marienburg, if you remember Marienburg, the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay stuff. But most people don't realise that. But then obviously it's just out of my mind's eye here. I have dice in front of me, and I have David Gallagher's um, epic box artwork directly above my computer here. So yeah, no, it's always with me, and I miss it actually. And it's a very sad thing to say, but it's my home, it's my lair. I it's where I kind of retreat to, and I think most people would appreciate that.
but
And I feel
you've said
pretty
for
good
work that
about
the camera's turned slightly, though. Have you? Do you unite those halves of your world between the you that is that man that collects and that is surrounded by everything he sees in front of him is to do with his Blood Bowl paraphernalia, and the you that is the rest of your world?
I'm an unashamed uh, unashamed gamer, and
At the
so
point where
I'm
it's
really
taken over rooms of your house, I guess you have to be.
yeah. I mean, you get outed occasionally when sort of colleagues come along and go, "Oh wow, yeah, okay," but it's yeah, no, I'm surrounded by it. I'm unashamed about it. Really happy to talk to people about it. Yeah, so I'm pretty much the same at work as I am at home anyway, and that includes my hobby.
And where is the line for you? Because you say you've stopped at 2016. Was it the rule sets, or was it just there's a point where I can say no, history changed then for Blood Bowl, so it's a stopping point?
It's been such a journey, I think, to collect everything up to fifth edition. I'd probably draw breath at that, I think, a little bit, and then maybe sort of catch up. I also feel like 2016 is very easy to get. It is a kind of thing of I can probably just clear that up fairly quickly. Um, and yeah, focusing or giving myself a boundary, a parameter for my collection is kind of makes me gives me the satisfaction in some ways, knowing I could potentially complete it. And there are just a few items that I'm looking for and need. Um, so,
Anything you want to put a shout out for? See if it's out there in the community.
well, I mean, anyone who's buying loose figures. So the one loose figure I'm missing is one that's probably missing for most people's collection is the Dark Elf referee, which is a bit of a limited edition Games Workshop figure. So I'm missing that one. In boxes, probably only just a handful. The Dark Elf Assassins that were a late addition to fifth edition,
Okay.
and Skitter Scab, and that's pretty much it. Maybe the fifth edition Zug, which looked a little different. They had a number of them, which have a white. See, this is the other thing. I've ended up collecting different card backs, so I probably have about
That's a true
7 or 8.
completionist, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking just the blue and red card backs. I've got the American ones. I've
Sorry,
got,
you
yeah,
said that you miss the 5th edition special tag, the one with the helmet up.
the one I've got that one on a white card back mail order, but I'd love to
Ah,
get
okay, okay,
in
okay,
a
okay, in the blue.
the blue and the red. Yeah, yeah. So
No,
if anyone's got those, that would be my
I have a
grails.
one. I have a spare one, but it's not in a box.
Ah, okay. Yeah, definitely need it sort of suffocating its own plastic. In this
No,
case.
nothing I own is in a box.
Okay. Yeah, no, I do have a loose
Power
one.
to freedom. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so I mean, look, as I've said, I go to tabletop tournaments. I get given stuff. At the latest NAFC, I was given a lovely Charlie Victor thing, which does absolutely nothing. It's here in my stuff drawer. I think it's now the ultimate in terms of where Blood Bowl is at. So it's metal. It's stunningly well engineered. It looks like,
Oh,
I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful, solid metal thing by, I believe, either Black or Down or Charlie Victor products, who are both making some absolutely stunning stuff.
My favorite.
But it
Yeah.
has absolutely no use. It is entirely impractical. It does nothing.
If
Um,
you
but there it is in my
if
Blood Bowl
you
stuff
were
drawer.
a ninja, you could kill someone.
I mean, I've got some other
If you
it's a
beautiful,
were a ninja,
shuriken.
beautiful things. Yeah.
if you were a ninja, you could kill someone with that.
So I think all of us end up with at least a drawer full of stuff. Where that crosses into collection, I don't know. Um, I mean,
It's a
I've always said to me that they're pieces in a game. I mean, I'm almost the feral opposite of you, and yet here I am with a collection of nice stuff.
and I think that's lovely, and I think you don't have to complete the whole thing to really enjoy a collection, and have I mean, dice are great mementos. I think the older I get, so I was started playing in the '90s, early '90s. There's a nostalgia aspect to it as well, which is great, and also I think probably a slight historian in me. I love history, and there's something around sort of
Hmm.
cataloging something, even if it's own very niche piece of history. So for instance, we were last time we caught up, we were talking about that David Gallagher picture, and actually
Yes.
those are people within the studio being
Yeah.
represented, which I just love those little cool things and facts. And the other thing I think which comes alongside that is I've been able to speak to a lot of the original artists and producers and hear their stories and see the love they had for the game, because they worked on many games,
Yeah.
but they all loved Blood Bowl. Right?
Yes, it's interesting. I mean, Pete Nifton says the same. There's something about this game that almost
Yeah,
everyone associated with it. I mean, the player base. I mean, we know that's true. Look how insane we've been. But
that's
the
right.
creators as well have all seemed. It's got their teeth into everybody.
Yeah,
Everyone's got a certain spot for Blood Bowl.
that's right.
And talking to other tabletop gamers, even those that haven't played it, everyone's heard of Blood Bowl. It's got
Yeah,
a semi-mythical status as this game that couldn't get killed, and the beer and skittle game taken seriously, and it has this slightly odd place in the world of tabletop gamers, even, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. I think that's right. I mean, the original, third edition art sculptor Gary Morley. Yeah, I've spoken to him an awful lot, but more recently, I was able to buy some of his original green stuff figures, and which I
Mm.
really treasure, and probably run into a burning building to retrieve. And some of the stories he had, of course, they had their own league, so they were playing it, they were developing it, they were loving it themselves. He happened to win his league, and he actually being a sculptor, he made his own trophy, which I saw with his particular star player on.
Now, I want to talk
Uh,
about this and playing leagues some more, but I want to get the other two guys' story in first, and then I want all of us to talk about how collecting feeds into Blood Bowl and bring all of that together. But I think it's great to have all the voices for that. I guess my
Absolutely.
final question to you, and then I want to move on to Rolex. I think it's natural talk as we're talking about art and history and sculpting to his interesting collection. My final question is: has it cost you anything? I mean, do you have a significant other? Do they put up with this? Do your children
Yeah.
respect and love you? Are you
Yeah, not having children has helped. So this has become my kind of like my adopted child in
so
some
instead of
respect.
cats, it's Blood Bowl
Yeah,
stuff,
instead of
circa
cats, yeah, I have more
82 to 2016
flexibility.
inclusive.
That's right. And moving to the island and quietening down a little bit just gave me a
Yeah.
little bit more time to feed it. It's an expensive thing to dig into the archives and collect try to collect everything. It is expensive, but it doesn't have to be to build a little collection. But buying in blisters and all of that stuff it can be pricey. But it's yeah. So overall, I dread to think. Advice is find and my best friend is this: find someone in your will you can to appreciates what you've really spent on it,
Well,
as opposed to what you maybe said you spent on it.
I think my goal for you, Steve, is we will try and make Blood Bowl popular enough that you can open a small museum to Blood Bowl on the
That would be
island of Tenerife,
yeah,
and
yeah,
holidaymakers can spend just a few hours in their 2 weeks just popping in
yeah.
to learn more about the history of Blood Bowl.
Mm.
Um,
That's it. Well, I mean, I am.
I'd
I'm
come,
actually talking.
but
Yeah,
I
I
imagine the
am.
target market's quite small right now.
It is a bit niche, but I am talking to a fellow gamer who's moving to the island about opening a game center actually. So this might happen.
Hey, look, just a big old room with the history of Blood Bowl, and I will take a family holiday there just to pay you £10 to walk into
I
that
will.
room.
I'll hold you to that, and you can come free of charge. But you need to
I'd
be a
have to
friend.
pay, so you've had at least one person that year that did.
Why? Thank you.
No, I
Look
said I'd
forward.
move on, so I'm afraid we need to. We will come back. Obviously, feel free to join in as we are talking to the lovely Rolex Naff and his occasionally moving image.
Hello.
Hey, Rolex, how are you?
Just quite fine. Just a thing to be precise. I'm Rolex now just because Rolex was already on Twitch was not available
Okay, but you are
for
Rolex. I mean, that is how we should know you.
one. Yeah.
So sorry if I've mislabeled you.
Well, is problem at all. I came in the game just playing. When I started playing, I had one team. Then I bought another. I bought another. I had some success as a player, and I arrived second at what was the Italian Championship at the moment, and the prize
Excellent.
was six teams of Games Workshop. So at that point, I had almost all the third edition. Then I said, okay, I have everything for third edition. It's okay. Oh, but this second edition Reds looks so cool, and this other thing looks so cool, and I'm and from then on, I just bought all the teams I wanted to own.
So
That's
we've
more or
got
less
some, yeah,
that.
we have some graphical evidence to go into this. He sent me a
Yeah.
PowerPoint presentation. We are going through this. There will be questions at the end.
Okay.
So, first of all, the Blood Bowl Collector. I'm not able to actually show it as a presentation, so forgive me. I'm just going to click through them. Uh, so, how his first team began in 2009. You were invited to play in the TTP Association Summer League. Having no idea about the rules or the teams, you rolled some dice and you were given.
Ogres.
I mean, wow! It's incredible you're still playing any kind of Blood Bowl at all, isn't it?
I ended in the semi-final. I lost in the semi-final against Undead.
And just how terrible was everyone else at Blood Bowl? Sorry,
Well, pretty bad, pretty bad. But we were like local players. People
sure.
was playing as there was not knowledge of the deep end of the game. But I catched up quite fast,
No,
and
I'm joking. I get enough trouble for this podcast being just about elite play. It isn't. It's about all levels of Blood Bowl. And in a local league, what's wonderful is you can be a great player, but you get 2 games of tough dice, and you're not getting the playoffs that season, and someone else is.
yes,
So there's.
and
I'm totally joking. I don't want to be thought toxic. That's next week.
well, but I started like that with ogres, and now if you look for
And
me,
there it is. So the
I am
ogres of
on number
Onan.
14.
So your first ogre team was named after onanism. I think that's very fine.
Yes,
And
you don't want to know.
you built and made them yourself.
Yeah. With I had some ogres around, some plastic ogres, and so I just fit them for Blood Bowl. I still own them.
Beautiful. And then you went on to make their fans.
Yeah, I'm a bit back on the presentation. What are you showing now?
I'm showing the next page, which is the kit bashing frenzy and the
Yeah,
psycho fans, which earned you your first best team prize. Was that for
yeah.
painting and the kit bashing, or was that for play?
painting and team. It is like no, it was for painting and kit bashing. They are all kit bashed from plastic, from GW plastic. The Minotaur is from Impact.
So from the very start, you were already someone that knew how to paint and how to kit bash.
Yeah.
But then you were coming into Blood Bowl.
Yes, I did already paint. I did already kit bash. I was a player of fantasy battles, but then I came back. I came into Blood Bowl because in my league, in my city, Blood Bowl was a summer game. In summer, people played Blood Bowl.
Right. So in the winter, hide in the dark, play 17 hours worth of tabletop fantasy battle.
Yeah,
In the summer, sit outside, have a nice cooling mojito, roll some dice, and
yeah,
play 45 minutes worth of Blood Bowl.
yes,
I love that
exactly.
concept. That's
Makes-
just great.
Brilliant.
And
Makes
as someone-
perfect sense to me, and I'm definitely not stereotyping there at all, am I?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe not mojitos. Maybe just something more Italian.
Okay, and so look, back to the lovely images, because as I said, we have a
Limoncello.
PowerPoint. We are going through it. So we had these lovely kit bashed orcs. Are they orcs or are they? But there's also sort of a chaos dwarf looking thing in there. So what was
We-
this? The first kit
Wait,
bashed team?
wait a moment. I'm waiting for the image to come out.
It's the
Because
same. It's the same one,
okay,
right
wait a
after
moment.
the ogres.
Right after the ogre. Oh, that's no, that's a Chaos Dwarf team.
It is a
Chaos
chaos
Dwarfs.
dwarf team. Yeah.
That's a bull centaur,
Yes, these are bull centaurs. They're absolutely beautiful.
and the hobgoblins are the plastic orcs from
Right.
the box with the
That's what
goblin
confused
hats.
me. I see. So you put the goblins on. You put the orcs on and you gave them the traditional Mongolian
Yes,
goblin hats. I'm a fan, though. Of course, hobgoblins
exactly.
should have orange skin. We all know that. So then you decided you'd go for all 24, and as you said, you won a fair chunk of them already. And then, of course,
Yeah.
so you got all 24. So there you are. You've
Yes.
got
I
every
got
team.
I
How
got I
beautiful.
got all I got every team in about 6 months from when I began playing.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, so that's
Not all painted. Disclaimer: not all painted.
right.
In 6 months.
Did
Right.
you at that point think this is a problem?
No.
No. You thought I'm just going to get those teams. I'll have one of every team, and that'll be everything I need. That's
When
great.
when I arrived at that point, I had been insane for a long time already.
Okay. Um, because then you decided why not have everything Games Workshop have ever released, which seems the
At the
logical next step, doesn't it? I've got all the third edition
yes,
teams. Let's just have all the Games Workshop teams.
the only thing at the moment I don't own that the Games Workshop released from Blood Bowl for Blood Bowl is the Elf Referee.
The
That's
Dark
the
Elf,
only mini I don't own.
the Dark Elf referee. If there's someone out there sat on two,
Yes.
that's beautiful. You and Steve Greenburger will be very happy people. I suspect there's someone out there with 30 going, one day I will rule the world through the power brought to me by Dark Elf referees. So then you had
Yes.
it. You got there. Your collection was complete. You had every Games Workshop team. All of them. All
Yeah.
the beautiful looking teams, all in lovely colours, all painted, ready to use. Um, but what's this? There's lots of third party teams. You didn't think, oh, I'll collect all the third party teams, did you,
Yeah.
Rolex?
No, I did not all the ones I did want. There are a lot of third party teams I don't.
Okay, we're getting a lot of
I
interference on the mic at
put
the moment.
one I did like. You can hear me? Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay. I just bought the third party teams I liked and I thought they were cool or I could have for a good price.
Okay, so because I mean there are a gazillion of them out there. You can't possibly be aiming at every single one.
No,
But
but for example, there was a Kickstarter that Impact did some years back, in which in one Kickstarter I bought 26 teams at the same time.
Isn't
but
that
it was
isn't that the sort of award level they usually leave for shops, not
yes, but
individuals?
it was $25 each. Why not?
But when you know you're buying at the level of a shop, and they say so which retail outfit should we send this to, and you say no, it's just me.
It's just me. It's just me. I had problems sometimes with customs. They say, "Oh, you're selling stuff." No, I'm not selling stuff. That's for me.
Okay,
I'm not selling.
so I mean, and on and on and on. What's your feeling on the new resin teams? Are you a fan of resin? Are you a fan of metal? And how do you
It
feel about
depends.
the
It it,
whippersnapper that is the 3D printed team?
it depends. The pro. I love a lot old metal teams for the metal feeding. But for example, I hate metal teams that are very fiddly, very hard to put together, and tend to break and don't stay together. I like resin is fine. It depends on the resin. Resin is a very wide a very wide term. There are things that are not worth owning because they smell badly, and the things that are amazing. It all depends on the resin.
Okay. And is painting very much part of it? I mean, how many of your teams? Because we've just shown. I'm just going to flash it up again. I don't know if you've seen this. The terrifying image of your cupboards.
Yeah, you're showing the cupboards.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, that's four
that is
adult
uh,
height cupboards
yeah,
entirely full of figures.
is a little more than 2 meters tall cupboards. It is the one with painted teams is not 100% full. The others are full now. I need another cupboard.
Yes, that's definitely the problem here. The problem here is the lack of cupboards.
Not enough cupboards.
Not
These are
enough cupboards.
these are from quite cheap. I can recommend this. These are from IKEA. Very
Okay,
good product.
great cupboarding. Now, there was some ones I asked you to pick out, a few that were special to you. You have currently, the last I heard was 420 different teams. Is that still roughly the number?
The correct number should be 414.
414 teams.
Yes,
Wow,
Respect.
that's a
at the
lot of
moment.
teams. At the moment,
There are there are a few on the way from
I was going to say, if I
Kickstarter
speak to you
and such.
in a week, is it going to change, or is it in a month? It will definitely change, won't
Probably,
it? Yeah.
probably. But remember, I count a team. A team goes in the total after it has been glued to the bases at least.
So you have some just
Put
sat in
together, glued
boxes.
to the bases.
So yeah, they have to be
No,
put together and
I
glued to the base, and then it
yes,
counts. Okay.
I have double teams. I have teams in boxes. They do not make the total
Right. So
because they are
it's
a
418
team five when it's together.
unique glued together on display, maybe unpainted
Yes,
teams. 418 of them.
yes. It must be unique. It must be glued together and ready to display. For
Okay.
example, in the way I count teams, Greenburgers would have very few because teaming boxes don't count for me.
Right. Well, I'll let you two fight about that in a second. So I've asked you to pick some highlights out. We've already seen the oldest team. That was those ogres. You've still got those. You must be very proud
Yes,
of
I
them.
still got those.
The seed of this disease.
Yes, I'm yes, they are a bit embarrassing to show because now I'm a much better painter.
No, they're history. And your
But
newest
it's
team at
nice.
the time, I realise we've updated since then, but my most recent team, I'm guessing from the beer pigs at the front, that's a Norse Kickstarter or
Yes,
someone's new Norse team.
no. That's a GW
Oh, it's
Norse.
the
At the
GWs.
moment when I made
Ah.
yes, GW Norse. Yes,
And then next up, the
the
most
models.
expensive team, Games Day.
Yes,
So that doesn't look
games
particularly
day.
special to me. It just looks like a team of plastic miniatures.
The games. No, that's the games were a special team that were made and sold just on that games day. There are 100, 200 copies around. They sell for, they are all metal, and they sell for crazy prices, 400 pounds each.
Wow.
I
Um,
don't know how
so
much they were worth.
I've just got to cut back to the pictures and ask. Um, Greenburger, got one?
I do indeed.
I knew you would. I knew it.
It's a Games Workshop product. I've got one.
I thought, right era, right company. I bet he's got one. Either that or he is green with envy right now. But no,
No,
you're
no,
you're
that's
Greenburger with got one.
definitely in the bag.
Do you agree that's an absolute star of a team for Rolex to have pulled out there?
I mean, if you're looking at sort of value and rarity, because it's from the mothership and it's so rare, then it has to be probably the most valuable, unless you gold plated another team.
Well, it's
Or
not beyond him. Let's have a look at another couple he's just pulled out. So we've got that the most expensive team, and then from there we go to the most embarrassing team, the bondage team. Rolex, come on.
Yes. No, this were like a deal. I found them from a guy who had painted them and was embarrassed as well, and so wanted to sell them. I bought them for 30 euros, painted.
Well, I mean, it's a good price, but I mean, I've gone on record before as saying that I think we need to get over the slightly toxic, I say slightly, the incredibly toxic nature of how Games Workshop and a lot of gamers looked at women and women within gaming, and the old Amazon teams of the past. And I think the new Amazon team shows a great deal of promise to not be, all
Yes,
huge breasts and thighs.
I,
Are you really
I,
embarrassed about it, or is it just because I said what's your most embarrassing team and you thought I'll show him that one?
it is not a team I would take to a tournament.
Yeah.
It is not a team I would. Sly is fine to be in the shelves. It's fine to have it, but I would not go to a tournament when I may have to play against a child with this.
No,
Just
absolutely.
for that. Just for that.
So then we've also
Is
got your most beloved team, and this is the Boar. So it's I'm looking at a
the
picture.
boar.
Yeah, I'm going to guess they can be all sorts of things. Presumably,
The boars are. The story of the boars comes from a thing. My league, my local league, is the Wild League, and the symbol is a boar. And
ah,
the leader is a guy named Boar, and going to a boar fair with boar. So it is just a celebration of my league, of my team of players, of my friends, and so I put together all the boar miniatures at the time, and I put it together so I could play with various races.
yes, I think I can see how you could get goblins out of those, or certainly I'd have thought black orcs,
Yeah,
but
ogres.
ogres, yes, but a beautiful backstory behind them as well. Next up, we have the best Games Workshop team ever. Controversially, I think some people might disagree with this, but it's your statement, it's your PowerPoint. I'm just the man showing it and describing it to everyone. And you've gone for the best Games Workshop team ever to be the second edition Skaven. Now,
Dave,
what did you love
I
about this
love
team?
them. They are they this team are the reason because I did not stop at third edition and I started to buy second edition as well. And I love because they are very they have a ton of personality
Yeah.
and they have a ton of goofiness. The gutter runners with the oven gloves are fantastic, and the kicker with the bionic eye, the blithers. The teams, if you put them close to the latest Games Workshop Skaven, it's not a game. These are just a ton of personality,
To me, it's one of the teams, if you
and
look
they
back in history, and we'll have to bring Greenberger in on this, he is our historian. particularly where the teams are concerned. When you look back on the history of Blood Bowl teams, I remember a lot of ones you had to bring a great deal of your imagination to. Orcs, where all of them just stood like that, and 11 of them across the field, and you'd have to say, okay, this one's doing this and doing that, and that one's a bit more heroic. Um, I feel that Skaven team was one of the ones there was some real personality in a lot of the sculpts. The team felt in action in a way that I don't think we've really had a set of sculpts that have sort of done that to the same degree, except the modern Games Workshop sculpts, which I think are excellent. The current set that are going around. Do you
That's
agree with
right.
me, Greenberg? Or are you?
I think there's certainly something in that, and I think they also came with mutation. So some of the add-on players that you could buy, and they were recently reissued by Games Workshop. You could buy them in little packs recently. Um, they really added flavour to them as well. Of course, then you have the Rat Ogre
Yeah.
to go with it. It was one of the best sort of big guys as well from that time.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty good choice actually.
Yeah, lovely team.
My
And I mean, you still
my
see them around on
favorite.
eBay, don't you? They're very popular still.
Yeah, I played this once. I played once at my first NAF championship.
Okay. And then moving on from there, we have the best third-party team, and you've gone with Grebo's Amazons Stroke Norse. Now, I'm truly
Yes,
excited that this has happened because by complete coincidence, anyone that watched the show 2 weeks ago will know that's the team I gave Thomas W for his birthday. So I've given him the best third-party team that's out there. You think? Why so?
there are two. There are two things that make them totally amazing. First, they are they are not sexualized. They look like athletes. They like fighting, but and the most amazing thing is body types. Each and every one of these players is different. It is 90% of the time when you look at a team, all the players of the same role are the same height, the same width of shoulders, the
Yeah,
same body type. Here there is the chubby ones, the small one, the one more busty, the one with bigger hips, and everyone looks like it was taken from a real live person. This is the way a team with female models should be done. This is my favorite third party team at all, and one of the best produced third party team I ever seen.
fantastic. I mean, I, as people have heard me say a lot, I feel very similar about the Zenobian Zeniths. Again,
Yes,
they're more postmodern rather than a traditional fantasy team. But again, you get the variety of body shapes. You get women that look like they could give you a proper game of
yes,
Blood Bowl and smash your face in. And whilst they're not unattractive deliberately, they're not sexualized in a way that I find,
And
indefensible in the
it
modern
came with
world.
that incredible big girl in the kind of aliens
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
mechanical
yeah. I mean,
sort of thing,
to
which
me,
is
a direct Ripley rip-off, but to be used as an ogre.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
But should they gain access to them? Although everyone has access to everything now, so presumably they'll gain access to Morg and Deep Root and I don't know
ooh,
every other star that there is. But yeah, no, I agree. I did think that was a really really nice team, and it was a joy to give it away. And it is great that I think design in terms of how we look at people within Blood Bowl has moved forwards. I have said before, I wonder if in 30 years'
this
time
is
we're going to be
also
looking at drinking and saying the same sort of thing.
this is also an example of the Zenobians well are sexualized, but on the other hand are very deliberately not sexualized.
Yeah.
While these are not a statement of not sexualization, are just being like if sexualization did not exist and was not a issue,
Now,
which is,
we
in my opinion, even better.
yeah, absolutely.
It's
I mean,
not.
I want to live in a world where we accept that people can be attractive and unattractive, and that we can, look at
Yes,
other people and say that's an attractive person, but where we're not objectifying people and presenting an
yes,
unrealistic view of individuals or of one gender or of one subset of humanity. I think that's
exactly,
the way I'd
exactly.
want to put it. But where that line is, I'm not sure we've found the swinging point on the pendulum yet. I'm not sure we ever will. But at least we're asking the right
Yes,
questions and moving in the right directions. I think That's where I would be. Now, the next one you've got up for us says, "What next?" Next to one of those beautiful modern tree men that I'm sure we all love.
That Treeman is just terrorized by the fact I bought a 3D printer.
Ah, that's what I'm looking at, is it? It's the 3D printing. Are you going to go into that for yourself? Are you going to make your own teams? Or just from STL files or whatever
No,
that?
no. I just bought it because I get like with many teams, I got a good deal on it, and I found some teams I did like on Patreon. Now I have printed three teams at the moment. Not many, but I don't look into printing a lot of teams. There is a lot of 3D printing teams I don't like, but there are also quite a few that I do like.
Now, just the last images I'm showing it, I just want to talk about it. I've counted, there's 11 teams there that you added
Yes,
to your
just
collection since we first discussed you doing a PowerPoint
yes.
presentation of your
In
team
6 weeks
in
is
six
in
weeks. So
six
that's
weeks
is
they
two
are.
two a week about standard for you, or
I don't know. It depends on the month, but anyway, I get more than one team a week on average.
wow? And 418 teams. How
414 at the moment.
414 teams. How many of them have you put out onto the tabletop?
I think I have put on the tabletop way more than 100.
Wow.
I to just to be just to show I'm not just a collector. Um, During the previous rule set, between the CRP, the beginning of the CRP, and Blood Bowl 2020, I am the second player for number of NAF games played in the world, after Lycos.
And
So
is that you
I had the
traveling all
chance to
over?
play. Yes, I had almost 1,000 games in that rule set.
Wow.
So I put a lot of these on the tabletop.
And what do you think of the new rule set?
Let's say it all depends if you count or if you wait. If you count positive changes and negative changes, there are many more positive changes than negative changes. If you weight them, there are two negative changes that for me are a lot of trouble and the reason I'm not playing as much as before. And there are overpowered star players and the multiple reroll per turns, which are the two changes that I really hate.
Yeah, multiple rerolls per turn. I mean, I could get used to. I'd rather not, and I think it gives such an advantage to players. Frankly, to
Yes,
players like me, to the more experienced player, the players that knows
when
when that
when
leverage is hugely important
when
and when to use
when
it.
I started playing in Blood Bowl 2020, I win the first three consecutive tournaments.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see a bit more of that, of the just a bit more predictability in where things finish. In terms of the
Yes.
star access, I mean, I think a lot of tournament organisers are going for just reducing the star access. But as a collector, can you understand that people want to buy those stars? I mean,
Yes,
look at
yes.
Steve and his star blisters. He wants them shrink
I
wrapped,
I
imprisoned
I
forever within his malicious grid.
I I own each and every star that he owns as well. I love the models. I did like to play them in leagues. I don't like them in tournaments. I did not like the old ones that were not overpowered in tournaments. I really don't like in tournaments the new ones.
So
I
might
prefer.
that just be up to the tournament organisers then? We can solve it with
Yes,
keeping them.
yeah, oh, of
They
course,
can
of
be
course.
fun and
That
silly, and you can have them in your league playoffs, but we'll keep them out of the tournament scene.
Yes,
It's a bit of a shame.
I'm playing less simply because as I think that every tournament organizer should be free to choose, I'm free not to go to tournaments that allow star players.
Now, I do have one more thing to show from you. Just as we're talking, I just want to show this. Oh, no, it's completely. That's why it's disappeared. That should bring it up for you.
Yes,
So, what I'm showing you here is the Excel you sent to me.
yes, that is not updated, of course.
No, but I don't know what the difference is between the ones in the yellow section.
The ones in the yellow section positions is the cupboard,
Okay,
the
and
number of the cupboard. The
okay, the
second
green
is
green is in cupboard 2. So the yellow ones are the painted ones, are they?
armadio. No, the yellow ones are yes, the yellow ones are the painted ones, are in the painted cupboard.
Okay, and that takes us up to quite a lot, and then we have the blue ones in cupboard 3, and the darker yellow ones in cupboard 4, and then the grey ones, the
Yeah,
dark grey ones, and a few red ones, and that takes us up
yes,
at this point to 386, but we're now well over the 400.
yes.
I mean, that's are there teams there you look at and you think I will never play that team?
No, never. I I have sold my soul to not die until I've played and painted each and every team.
And no regrets. Every one you think,
I
yep, I'm glad I've got that team.
No, no, no. The only regret is some teams that I bought and I thought that it was a good deal, but when they came through customs, it became a bad deal.
Right. And of course,
Like
unfortunately, with Brexit, that might get a little worse from the
no,
UK
yes,
teams.
it was also from the US. I bought from the US a team of Skaven slash Underworld that were all dressed like waiters, with a papillon tie, and it was nice. It was a nice price, but when the shipping plus custom was 150 euros, I said fuck. And they said that
Okay.
yes, I was not exactly happy.
What is a good price for you for a non-Games Workshop team? I mean, I've always said I think Games Workshop are great value. I know people complain about the
Yes,
identical
absolutely,
sculpts, but you can do things about that. Modern ones, there's more variety in there in movable arms, legs, heads.
absolutely.
And even if you've got to buy
Well,
2 boxes, 40 quid for a huge number of figures, I think is great value.
no,
But what do
the
you
new.
expect to spend? You've bought many a team. Oh, I think we may have lost him and lots of people, or is that me?
Europe's gone. That's it. We're out of Europe.
Has Boris done this?
Swan song. But yeah, right.
Because we
I'll
have
go home.
we've lost our 2 European people both at the
We
same
really
time.
have.
Oh, Bim. Well, look, while we wait for them to come back, let's have a little a look at some of your stuff, and we'll talk about dice.
Ooh. Okay.
So I've got some dice, and these aren't my dice because my dice are in the thing I take to tournaments, which is behind me. But I've then got this. This is a decent sized bag, now entirely uncomfortably full of
Yes,
dice.
bulging, one might say.
Yes, a big bulging dice sack I've got here. And every single one in here has been given to me or bought by me. I counted, as well as the set of block dice I use, which are, of course, fumble dice. I have
Of course.
8 other sets of block dice. And I have
Mhm.
in the region of 40 sets of D6, all of which are either
Hello.
NAF dice or... Hello, welcome back. Come on, join us in. I'm just chatting with Bim, hoping that we will rejoin Europe at some point, in many ways.
Well,
So I counted about 40 D6s, which started for me the first UKTC I went to, my first ever game of tabletop. I sat down for my first ever game, and the first thing that happened is someone handed me a set of dice and said, there you are. And I said, what's this? He goes, oh, we give dice to everyone we play. I thought, that's incredibly classy. And of the 6 games at the
Yeah.
UKTC, that happened to me 4 times. And someone else gave me a dice mat. I wish I had more because now I've decided to go back from a dice tray to a mat and I don't have a good dice mat. But I will find one in time. But yeah, I got 4 games, 3 sets of dice, and I got my NAF dice. So I walked away, and I think there was some dice for attending as well. So I walked away with about 6 sets of dice from my
Wow.
first ever tournament. And
Win,
so
win,
whether I
win, win,
wanted
win,
to or
win, win.
not, I was already a collector. Um, but my little bag of dice, this is as nothing to you, is it?
Well, now, quality is probably more important than quantity here. You're showing me what I believe to be a load of dice, but I have no proof that any of those
Could
are
be a sack
going
of
to
rice,
make
couldn't
me
it?
drool. Um, no,
Look, they sound like dice, and if I can briefly take you with me, I can show you. Look,
there we are.
lots and lots and lots and lots of dice.
Yeah, loads.
All different colours, all different shapes. Um, why? But I mean, I've got three dice that I love, the fumble dice. I don't really want.
Yeah. Which color ones?
They're black, obviously, with the
Obviously,
traditional.
they're in all sorts of colors.
Yes, I know, and I do have them in another set, another colour. I also have a set that are completely unique.
Yes.
When there was a set of fumble dice being done, my Chaos Dwarfs, which I often start my Twitch streams with, were being
Uh-huh.
painted for me by S. Pubba, who at the time was doing all the fumble dice. So he did me a set of fumble block dice in the
Yeah.
colours of my Chaos Dwarfs.
Yeah, I think
Um,
you mentioned that before.
so
That's what a
they're
lucky boy.
completely unique fumble dice painted by S.
It's
Pubba,
not who you know, it's how you know them.
which I imagine you'd quite like to have, but you will never get from me.
Right. No,
Because they
but
obviously belong with
respect
that
the
Chaos Dwarf
limitations.
team.
Sorry, say again.
They obviously belong with that Chaos Dwarf team.
Yeah,
They are a
yeah.
one-off. They are completely unique.
That's a big thing for me as well. I possibly the well, there was definitely a moment when I kind of thought. I don't know so much about collecting. I saw the collector group on Facebook, and I was like, "Wow, that's really weird. Why would you want to collect dice from an event that you weren't at? I don't get it. It's like,
Yeah.
you go to an event, and or like people, if you perhaps drive a caravan or have a walking stick, and you go to Skegness, and you buy a little shield, and you put it that says Skegness, and you put it on your caravan and your walking stick, and
Yes.
and then you go to Borth and you do the same. Surely it's like that.
I have
You're all
friends who are
mad.
runners, and
And,
they
yeah,
choose which
wow.
event they go to based on what the event is giving away as the prize for running in it. So they're
Mm,
very prize motivated, very collecting motivated. But
yeah,
they would
wow.
never collect one from a race they hadn't run. That would never occur to them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
But they
Yeah,
will
that
they'll still
that's
go 300 miles to a
yeah,
race rather than 50 miles to a race
yeah, cool.
because of
But
what they
then
will get from it.
you just see something that is purely beautiful, and you just go, "Wow, that's really beautiful. Wouldn't it look nice on my display board
Now
with all
we
the
say
other
display
beautiful
board.
things?"
So you sent me some lovely images, as did everybody this week. So we're going to see some more images. I do beg your pardon, those of you who are not able to visualize these, but I am trying to talk about them at the same time. So this was the first one you showed me. I thought that is
Yeah,
probably slightly more
that's
dice than I've got in my dice bag. I thought that's a decent sized dice collection.
I've got to apologize before you go any further, please. This is embarrassing because
But
it just
that
I've had a busy term, and I really wanted to spend today actually sorting out my dice collection, and it's just a state. There are gaps, things are in the wrong place, there's no order to it. It's just embarrassing,
there's
really. I
there's
don't know why I sent
there's a
photos.
lot of dice there though. And I thought that, and then I looked at the next picture, and the next picture was another cupboard, and I checked, and it is a different cupboard,
Uh
full of entirely different dice again,
huh.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Including some very very nice, interesting looking ones up at the top there. Um,
Yeah, respect to Chris Riles for that entire cabinet. That is entirely
and the Halloween
record down.
ones. I mean, just some
Yeah.
crazy dice in there. And then there's the third cabinet, which I checked. It's a different cabinet full of entirely different dice again.
Uh huh.
Some very crazy mushroom themed
That's
ones going on up here, and
yeah. So the 2E ones in that section you're looking at there,
hmm,
those are special to me. Those were gifted to me by the great Pickle, at an event in Leicester, and he just said, I've had a really nice game. You're a nice guy to chat with. I would like you to have these dice. And
how
I
very
was
lovely.
blown away. I felt 10 feet tall. I was like, wow, this is like what a nice guy, and he's respected that game, and I realized that, well, I can have that power. I can do that. I can pass that love on.
Yes,
Um, so that's kind of
that's
part of it as well. It's
yeah.
it's the giving. It's the giving as well as the getting. As you were just saying about giving that team away to someone who beat me. Yeah, so it's fun.
The legendary Thomas W.
Yeah,
Yes, I mean it was lovely to give him something, and we've had that knocking around since the days of the Fumble podcast, waiting for something to give us a prize. But I don't really do prizes on this show as yet, and we haven't got
yeah.
a sponsor, so I haven't got my own stuff to give away. So I asked
Hmm.
JB, and we gave away that, which I thought was fitting. Um, I mean, I've been doing the same since that UKTC. I went to the next UKTC with a Team Fumble, and so I had Team Fumble dice printed up with the Fumble F logo where the 6 would be, and I made sure that
Yeah.
we had first one team the first year and then two teams the second year, and I made sure that everyone had a set for themselves and a set of 6 sets of dice, so they could give one to everyone that played anyone at Team Fumble for the entire of the UKTC. I just thought it was a really nice, classy touch. And so,
If
somewhat arrogantly, I had my own purple pearlescent ones made,
Oh
with a
yeah.
with an F put on the place where a 6 would be there. And I've been handing those out to anyone that
Ooh.
plays me at tournaments, thinking that would be.
Ah.
Now, I mean, to someone like you, that's if I
Hmm.
sit down and play you and then give you a set of 2d6, that's nice, is it?
Yeah, absolute.
It's not. My goodness, who does this arrogant asshole think he is? He's got his own dice.
well,
No, no, no. Okay, but yeah, I guess I've never really thought of it like that.
if
Good.
if
It,
if I if I can contribute,
yeah,
Of course
please.
you can.
we went with my league team. We went to 2 World Cups, Lucca and Dunburn. In both, we had dice made with the logo of our league, and we gave 2 dice to each of our opponent as well.
Yeah, see, I just think it's a nice thing to do, and you do spend 2.5 hours with these humans. I think it's nice to sort of commemorate
Yeah,
that in some way.
yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, right. Is the line that you're exploring there to do with that they're your dice, or are they your team dice,
Yeah,
or
is
like
there a
so
difference between
those
this
two
represents
ones
our
that
team or represents our league, and
yeah
Yes.
these represent me? You've played PurpleChest.
yeah
Well done.
uh yeah no I don't I personally I don't think so.
Okay,
Um,
it's reassuring.
I know other people who do this. Well, one of them is a professional dice manufacturer, designer, maker, whatever. And so that's I think that just heightens the honor of being given the dice. To be honest,
Now, coming back to
the,
that image we were looking at, there's an interesting section
oh
of
yeah,
this which is the NAF dice. How
oh
many
wow,
NAF D6s have you got, and are they worth
uh,
collecting? Because most of us will start if we ever play tabletop by getting a set of NAF dice.
yeah, too true. And I think I had possibly 2 or 3 of my sets before I realized some were rarer than others. Uh,
What's the
yeah,
peak of NAF dice rareness? What's the one if someone finds down the back of the drawer they should think, oh, that's 30 quid on eBay?
I think misprint ones. Um,
There are unique ones, aren't there, Ben?
yeah, the
They're
the
yeah.
yeah. Well, I think Steve's probably more qualified to talk about this than I, but there have been times when yeah, rarity comes with lower numbers, obviously, and then of course if as with so many things, if there's a mistake, ooh, they're even rarer, uh, and they're really hard to get hold of. And if it's a thing that people collect, yeah. So there was I did when was it, Steve? It was there were a load of NAF gifts that were made. And what was the mistake? It wasn't a miscommunication. Someone said white and someone heard and the designer heard pink or anything. It wasn't something like that. I think were they testing
Well,
colors?
Yeah, there were a few which were kind of odd colours or test colours, slightly different. There's a kind of there's a pink set, but there were a darker purple set,
yes.
um,
Yeah.
much more restricted. and they're really hard to find.
If-
You know,
But they were. Am I right? They were constructed. They were made
They
as a
were
test
first
or a
printed.
No,
mistake or something.
if I can explain, I was for 3 years responsible for the NAF dice,
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
I didn't know.
and the darker pink ones were the test run for the color, and the color was not correct. So this test run, they were reprinted in the correct color, and that test run was given just to NAF staff
How
because it
many?
was a run.
5 sets was it? 7?
Not many.
think
I think less than 40, 50. Less.
Oh,
Okay.
I
okay.
have the pink ones, but not the dark pink ones.
Yeah.
I have the regular pink
Very
ones.
obviously very few people do.
Yes.
But I think if personally, for my collection, you were just looking at it behind me. Also, the once I got all of the others, I was able to like draw a line and said that's fine for me because otherwise I'll go mad.
Yes, that might be a possibility. So we've got the NAF dice. We've got these down the left on this one. We had the gazillion different colours of block dice. I mean, I love that. But do you use all the different block dice, or is there a set that you tend to gravitate back towards?
Yeah. Well, again, so no, there are some dice that I will not ever take out of the. Well, I will take them out of the cabinet, but I won't take them to a tournament in case I lose one of them. To be honest, there are some that just for one reason or another are so valuable to me. Then there is a shot coming up that the dice that I would take to a tournament or even a league match will be, as you've alluded to, that they will be personal to that team. Usually the same color of the team that I'm fielding. So I've currently been playing.
So there's your dice box. That's the green and the tokens you're using at the moment, isn't it? I mean, it'll take a couple of seconds to start showing.
That's the bad boys. Yeah. So green and white because the team is green and white. So my team sheet is green. And I wear green and white pants. And no,
but
and
you select a set of dice for that team and for that tournament.
Yeah, and for me to help me pick the right dice, not roll the wrong dice. All the block dice here are the white, and try to get pearly white,
Right.
and all the d6s are green, so that you just look down and I need a d6. That's easy to work out rather than because that's something I really dislike about the Games Workshop set is the logos are on the d6s are so similar in design on many of the sets to the block dice. How many times we've all done it? How many times you pick it, you roll it? Oh, it's the wrong dice. Hold on, let me find the right one. Oh, it's gone under my chair. I don't know where it is. Whatever. So I won't take any of the Games Workshop ones either. I don't particularly find them very clear or easy to use.
Yes, I mean, I think what I love about the fumble dice is just how visually clear they are. You can tell across a room what those symbols are, and depending on how much blue or white or yellow is showing, you know exactly what it's telling you. And all the Games Workshop always being that single color etched onto a single gem dice. I find it really tough to read.
Tough to read. It's unimaginative. There's no creativity.
Now, there's an interesting word. So here we are talking about the usability of dice. And as someone that sees myself as someone that primarily plays the game, that's what I'm interested in. I mean, I do like nice things, but really I'm into usability, utility. Where does that line go for you, though, Bim? Because you like a pretty dice, don't you?
You like pretty dice. I've only ever won one tournament, and I spent the first 2 games of that tournament thinking that Defender Stumbles was a push on the dice that I was using because it was the first time I'd ever used them. So the door.
Do you think that helped or hindered?
No. Well, it hindered me. I was just pushing these poor goblins around. And I just signed up for a tournament, which is not in Wolverhampton. It's going to be in Telford, and the TO has said, if your dice are not clear, you cannot use them. That not really the words, but if your opponent complains about them being hard to understand, then you must use Games Workshop or a NAF dice.
Can I complain about Games Workshop and NAF dice being hard to understand?
Well, exactly.
They are the hardest. They are the worst.
Yeah, well, I sent them the photos of the worst one and said, okay, if my opponent doesn't want me to use these dice, I'll use these almost illegible ones, the silver NAF ones. You can't tell what you've rolled. Yeah. So I do get it. It can be really frustrating, and you don't want to, when you've got brain ache in the third game and someone starts rolling dice and you have no idea what the dice is for, what the result of the dice is. You don't even know which guy is blocking because you're just vaguing out. I understand it's a pain in the neck.
And then they point to something that looks like 3 sticks trying to form a wigwam and say, oh, that's a POW. And you're like,
exactly.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes, because this one with a man with a knife between his teeth, that would have been a push. Okay.
In Italy, I have played several times a tournament known as the 24 Hours, 11 straight games. At game 11 is very important. Your dice are easy to read.
Yes, I bet.
When people start blocking their own players, it's important that you can read the dice.
Oh, yeah, we've got copycat. That's a while away.
Yes, and there's
I've not done that yet.
Block Around the Clock. I think there's 2 in the UK that do the same thing. Yeah,
cool.
One in the north, one in the south. So Ben, where's the line to you? Would you rather use a dice because to you that feels like the right dice for this team, or is clarity more important than that? Is it, if it's the right dice, would you cope with it being a little?
No. What's important? Aesthetic beauty, comedy, and then kind of clarity, and finally functionality.
So you don't care at all if they're true dice or not?
What do you mean by true dice?
If a truly beautiful set of dice, you knew that the 6 was 0.001% less likely to come up than it should be, would it bother you?
No.
All the dice we use are 0.1 wrong.
I'm aware, yeah.
Essex dice are not casino dice.
No, nor should we want to use casino dice.
No, but is it possible to see that? There's
Hang on, let me put you up on. Let me give you the full screen, and that way we'll get some chance to see.
Okay, I rarely use these dice because they are not cuboid.
Yeah.
But they were produced by an educational supplier to show that the odds of a dice this shape are exactly the same as a dice which is completely cuboid.
Okay, so we're looking at a dice that has, very irregular sides. The 6 is a trapezoid. It's the sides are incredibly odd shaped, and yet it's more or less a cube, but with no 2 sides or angles.
To be honest, the reason I don't use this is because it doesn't have any cute logo on it.
Right.
If I was playing someone who was maybe a little bit funny about the odd shape, I really would possibly pull it out just to wind them up. I am, again, sorry, I like having fun with people getting inside their brains and messing around with all the noodles sometimes. And so you've got. I did once in the 40k world. You see, I got really. No, you can't use those dice. They were D6s, but they were what they call crystal. I haven't got one to hand. They're not cuboids, but they're D6, and it's quite obviously random what number you're going to get. But the person I was playing was refused to play me if I continued using these dice. So I said, well, but they're my lucky dice.
And do you ever get that in Blood Bowl? Do people look at your extraordinary dice choices and say, "Come on, just roll something I can understand"?
Yeah, sure. I had more comments, to be honest, from people who on how you roll, that you must have that the dice must come out of your hand and must roll a long thing. There's a mutual friend of ours who pulled me up on this chance once, so I just rolled every dice right the way up the board to his end.
Right. Were you a plopper? Are you guilty of the plopping?
I'll flip. Oh, I won't do that now because I have a tubey shoot thing that just gets rid of all that. But yeah, quite casually, I just flip it. I'm not deciding which face comes up. It's random to me. But on the occasion when it doesn't roll and it lands on a 6, your opponent or a pal, your opponent goes, "That's not a proper roll. You want to sort the rolls out." And I can count on 3 fingers the number of times that's happened in the Blood Bowl community. I don't have as many games under my hat as these good gentlemen, but I just think Blood Bowl guys are and girls are. What is the word? Kind of
Better
more.
humans than anyone that plays 40k.
Well, that's definitely hit the nail right on the head.
And that's reasonably safe to say, isn't it? That's just.
Yeah.
I think we're probably all fine with that. Yeah, and Corn Knight says cooler. I think definitely cooler.
Yes.
So you started the same story as me. Someone gave you some dice. You thought that's fantastic. I want to be like that. I like these dice things. You then, I have also found the Facebook Blood Bowl Dice Collectors community.
Yeah.
And there's 1,700 of you in there.
Now, yeah, we had a big commemorative event when we got to 1,000. What do you think we had made?
Some dice.
Presumably just a pointless spiky piece of metal in a display case, I'd have thought. I'm guessing it was some dice.
No, it was a ball token.
A ball token, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, they are all the rage, ball tokens.
No, we did. There were dice. There were plenty of dice. There were collaborations. There were because that's another thing. It's collaborations. You might think, oh, we've gone over third party.
Do you discuss where you're putting the 1 and where the 6? I mean, how do you collaborate on a dice?
Whoa. Oh, but no, because third parties. I mean, could you imagine Punga collaborating with Willy Miniatures, Wiley, whatever they are, or I desperately can't think of anyone. Succubus and Greenburger. I'm sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they do consult each other, but you at that time there were a couple of well-known designers, and you'd say like, who are they going to ask to do the commemorative dice here? Whoa, let's have a collaboration. Everyone who makes dice, let's all get together and do something brilliant for the community. And guess what? Yeah, that's what happened. A whole load of dice.
So why do you think 1,700 people all want to be in a Facebook group talking about dice? What? They're small, they're plastic,
yeah.
they all look kind of the same. Why?
Yeah, in all honesty, there are some people on there who, a bit like bird watchers, have twitchers, who just want to turn up in a field, see the redneck grebe and tick it off their list and then drive home. But there are other people who want to hang about and understand how the redneck grebe makes its nest and see it feed its young and feel all fluffy. Dice collectors, there are people who will pay as much as they can afford to get the whole set of NAF dice or fumble dice, whatever it is, whatever their goal is. And some of these people believe that if they're part of this group, they'll be able to outbid everyone else. And
so is it a vicious competitive scene full of backbiting and temporary alliances?
No, I refer the right honourable gentleman to my previous answer that people, the dice collectors who I have met, are all generous souls who are looking out for each other. You know who has got, if someone's got the Blacktop Skaven and someone's looking for them, you'll put them in touch with each other. If someone comes along and says, "Oh yeah, I've got these first edition Dark Elf dice, and I'll sell them you for 80 quid. Everyone just goes, anyway. And
I
yeah,
love a
but
dramatic pause for effect. They work so well over radio.
for me, it really was a way of keeping in touch with the people who I had traded dice with,
Sure.
in face to face.
So all
And that's
lovely,
why I
happy,
joined the group.
positive vibes. I'm not going to find my Dallas-like soap opera there amongst the
Yeah,
bitter
I'm not
rivalry
going
of
to say
dice
it's not
collecting.
there. Yeah, I don't know.
Now,
There are
you
some
described earlier,
characters.
though, as in the ephemeral, temporary world of ever-changing dice.
Yeah,
Now, surely where
yeah.
even an idiot like I can get 2 different sets of Fumble logoed dice printed up, which are therefore unique to people that have either played Team Fumble or me. Surely, and every club's got their own dice. Everyone goes to the World Cup with their own dice. Surely there's just too many dice for anyone to
Oh
sanely try
yeah.
and collect the
Wait,
dice.
I have a solution for that. Time, me, me and some of my friends, like the organizer of this year Euroball, do things because there are too many dice. Every year, on the 11th of November, the day of Nuffle, 11/11,
Okay.
Yes.
we burn 11 dice in honor of Nuffle.
Oh, I'm shocked. I'm sure. I'm sorry, Bim. I didn't realise there was going to be toxic content here tonight. You shouldn't have had to hear that. I'm so sorry.
Well, I think I think that's a good point. There's too much plastic in the world.
So why dice? I mean, we've heard passionate
Yeah.
about the
Wow.
history. We've heard passionately about the different teams, about the quality and the variety and
Mm,
playing them.
mm,
And yes, you can roll your dice. You can take them to tournaments, but they're just little cubes with ones on them.
mm,
Always ones on
mm,
them.
mm,
So
mm.
sell me on collecting my dice because I've got a bag. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I think that's preaching to the converted. Um, there you go. Yeah. But I can only speak about me personally. Um, as Mr. Greenburger, the Right Honourable Gentleman Greenburger, there mentioned that I already was collecting dice before I started playing Blood Bowl. Before I started playing 40k, um, I started playing dice games when I was about 6 or 7. Um, I had a friend who'd been in Mexico. He'd been a cowboy, riding with the cowboys, looking after loads of cattle on horseback. And at night they would play Yahtzee. And he came around and showed us how to play Yahtzee, and he absolutely loved it. And I found it's it is really bizarre how dice roll. That when you're playing, sorry if you do I need to explain Yahtzee? I'm not going to. But you'll find in an evening that there will be people who just roll a lot of 2s and 4s, and they can never get the 1s or the 6s or whatever it is. And it's an oddity. So I fell in love with dice and started collecting dice games, like the rules to dice games, quite early on. So it's kind of logical step for me. I did also last year find like the stuff in your parents' attic, and then
Mm.
eventually you find it, and there were some the first dice I ever collected. So
Those were your
it was quite
teething
a
dice,
moment.
were they?
My teething dice, absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, again, it sounds like the collecting, that need to sort of own and to possess and to
Yeah.
want that, and the love of dice was there
Ooh.
before Blood Bowl came to you. And then this wonderful
Yeah.
synergy happened
Yeah.
when you and Blood Bowl found each other.
Well, and other coaches. That's the kerosene to this spark. I guess. But I got a few pictures as well. Quite like uh, pictures.
I mean,
Um,
it's they look so great as well, don't they, Ben? You know, when you've got them up, they look fabulous. A lot of collections, they kind of look interesting. They don't look quite as stunning as a look. I mean, look at his cupboards that he has with
Mm.
them as well. I mean, they're just fantastic.
And handmade by your own good hands, Bymster, I believe.
Yes, yes, and that's
They are truly amazing.
bless you. Thank you. Well, I'm going to be making a few soon. I've tooled up my shed, and I'm going to start making them for other people to have. Starting off small.
So things like this lovely cupboard here that I'm just going to flash up again. So a specific dice displaying cupboard. Is that the
Yeah.
sort of thing we're going to be doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Something similar.
Because the other things you showed me, which I think are just as we've got the ability, I'll throw them up too. This beautiful team here, again Chaos Dwarves, a team very close to my own heart.
Yeah.
Can you just explain to us what we're looking at here?
This is a set of dice that I bought for 130 quid, and it came with a free team. So I thought I'll paint up that team because they're quite fun looking, and I'll get some laughs. And then I found out the pain and agony that you inflict on everyone with Chaos Dwarves. But before that, yeah, I made a little display pedestal for them, and then I put some lighting underneath it, and a little button that makes a sound. But yeah, they're excellent. That's
It is a fantastic team.
Rolex. Do you have that team? It was a
No,
RN Studios
I
Kickstarter
I
from a
have the
long
previous
time ago.
one. I have the
Yeah.
The
previous one.
previous one, there you go, of course.
I have the one with the sand dwellers and with the big monsters.
Excellent.
Yes, it is not the first Star Wars themed team. I've seen at
No,
least two
No,
others.
that's the second Star Wars team. I don't have that one.
And then the final one you shared with me is this. That's a very special looking white pearlescent dice. That beautiful thing. What's that
You
logo on it?
see. Okay, that's Bim. That's the Bymster. That's the Bymster star. Bymster.
And why does that exist? Why is that on a dice?
Well, yeah. Thank you. We were just getting. I make some. I make boxes for dices, of course, and they are dices, by the way. They're not die. And so I need a trading name, and that is Bymster Productions. So I'm going to promote myself. So what better way than to have some Bymster Production dice? Yay! So
Well.
those are that's I don't even have that dice. That's just a photo. I haven't asked permission to show it, but I guess it's my thingy.
I haven't asked permission to show it either. So if anyone's got a problem, they can come talk to me.
Yeah, I guess it's me that would have a problem. So I think it's all right.
Yeah. Again, come see me. You know, I'm a big fella. I'm not
I
frightened.
I think they are wonderful. There are no numbers, so you cannot roll once. The perfect dice.
And I'm presuming there are other sides to it, but it's a beautiful looking thing.
Yeah,
It tends to be. I found out when I tried to get the original Fumble dice done. My original idea had been because the F that makes up Fumble actually has 3 1s on it, and is an F like a fail, that I would put the F instead of the 1, and I would still have that. It is indeed a Fumble dice, thank you. And I would still have the numbers 2 to 6, and have the F instead of a 1. But when I mentioned this to my teammates, they were up in arms about the idea of putting the logo anywhere other than the 6. Are you a purist? Must logos be on the 6? Steve Green's nodding away.
I am.
Rolex 2. Bim, save me. Say they can be anywhere.
I have a specific reason. I played for an entire game against a vampire player which had the logo on the 1s, but didn't know about it. So he thought that the logo was on the 6. And so he couldn't fail Bloodlust for the whole game.
Fantastic. Well, there's a good reason to have it on the 1.
The most annoying dice I've ever played against someone who had come from, is it like a Yu-Gi-Oh game or something? And yeah, you know who you are, Mr. Rake. The logo is on the 5.
Okay. That's...
What?
No. Just no.
Yeah, thank you.
If I can mention a very annoying dice, the Bologna made some dice with the pips, normal. They look normal, symbol on six, everything, but the pips were not in the correct shape. They were around in weird shapes,
I
and so you
love
had
them.
to count. You had to count to know which
Yes,
number
like a
it
little
was.
pile in the corner of one of the sides, or things like that. Yeah.
Yes, like that.
Yes, I've
Excellent.
Very,
seen
very
those.
annoying.
Look, I enjoy them as a thing
Yeah.
to look at and raise a smile, but I would never want to play with the dice like that. Would you, Bim?
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's it's part of the getting inside the mind of your opponent. No, it's not really. Um, yeah, sometimes I do have I've got a little collection of those sorts of dice, and just to be honest, I never really find room for them in my dice box when I'm taking them out. But
Well done.
hmm,
Now, I should say, as we do have Fumble Krista in the chat, you've shown one of the sets of the white Fumble dice that I made to give away as part of Team Fumble. These, of course, were the purple ones, which I don't know if I gave you a set of these as well, Bim, but those were the purple ones I had done. Just come into focus there,
Cool.
which
Oh,
I think are
well,
very sexy. I've literally got, of the 200 odd I had made, I have that many left, so I have less than a tournament's worth before I might
less
have to
than a
get some
tournament
more and
worth.
get them get a new set made. Which instead of the I don't know, I might go with the Fumble again. I like the Fumble logo. I might go with the PurpleChest, get some actual PurpleChest themed dice. I don't know, but I definitely decided I don't want to run out of good dice to give away.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing
yeah.
that. It's not I don't think it's an arrogance thing. I think it's just I want people I want to say, look, I've enjoyed playing you. Here's something to say. We played a game of Blood Bowl. That's what the intention was.
I think it's a wonderfully generous thing to do is to share the dice and the memory. I think it's a wonderful gift. I don't think it's in any way,
Yeah.
um, you know, anything other than
And
that.
I don't
I think,
expect any back. I remember that feeling at the
Yeah.
UKTC where I got free dice, and I thought that's fantastic. And I hope one day someone feels that about a dice I've given them, as they, perhaps they walk away from their first ever tournament going, well, look, I got
Oh,
what a lovely set of dice I've
Is
got.
showing everyone that they are not an opponent, they are just a friend. We
Hmm.
are playing together. We are not playing we are not as much playing against each other as together.
I have even once or twice given them away to people that beat me. So it's
but does that happen?
not just exclusively to people I beat. I have given them to people that have beaten me. I have stopped recently, and am I crazy? But I've stopped giving them out at the start of the game because then people
Yeah,
tend to
man.
use them during the game. And if people are
Ooh.
rolling hot dice using my dice against me, I find that a bit harder to take than if they're using their own dice.
well, I think at the end of the game is a nice
It's the
ritual.
right time, isn't it?
It's the right time.
Yeah,
It's also good because you don't feel so well when you find the. It's very rare, but once in every 100 game you find a douchebag,
Yes.
and so it's not nice when you find after you given them a present that they are a douchebag.
Yes, I want to say if you have played me and haven't got a set of dice, um, it's probably just that I forgot.
or you've
That's
run.
that's yeah, you
Yeah,
run out. Or that's the problem.
Yeah,
Or
or
you're
I didn't
doing
have
it at
any
the end. That's
that
what I was
day.
going to say.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 It's
Or
fair
you
to
were a
say.
douchebag. But probably that I forgot. Probably.
I think probably after the NAF dice, I think the fumble dice are probably the most sought after. I would say, Bin, wouldn't you have thought?
Personally, yeah.
The fumble block dice.
The
I
fumble
want
Um,
dice
yeah,
and fumble
yeah.
dice generally are probably after the NAF dice because of the community. I mean,
Certainly, the
it,
few times I've seen one crop up on eBay, they've gone for an absolute fortune.
yeah.
that's
Wow.
me and Bin buying those probably.
I wanted to make as well dice of myself and not just of my league to give my opponents, but I tried to fit on the face of the dice the 4 cupboard full of teams, but it didn't look well.
Yes, of course,
Yeah.
what I'm really paying for with my fumble dice, I have a set from the original first ever set that went out and a set more recently. So that I've made sure I've got a set painted by S. Pubber, but also a set painted by hand by Krista himself.
Wow.
That you
Ooh.
could possibly even take the DNA off Krista off there in a Jurassic Park style environment and have your own theme park of Kristas obviously crossed with frogs or whatever else, running around coding thousands of little fumbles for you.
Yeah,
But thinking about it, you talked about irregularities, Pim. You know that I've got that set
Oh,
of
yeah.
fumble block dice specifically made for my Chaos Dwarf team by S. Pudler.
Yes.
I've got 4 block dice because one of them was printed slightly out of whack. So
Wow.
even
There
one
you
of those
go.
completely unique ones, there is one uniquer than all the other unique ones.
Yeah, but on its own, I think you can't separate it from the herd. Can
No,
you?
no, it's a set of
so.
4, including the runt of the litter.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
shall have those.
Wow.
I shall have those dice buried with me.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Rolex, didn't you say you have a plan for how to disseminate your collection to the wilds?
Well, at the moment, the plan is that to put in my will that when I die, we have a funeral tournament. Everyone comes to play without a team. Then they play one of my teams, and after the funeral, they take it home. But
Very good.
the most important thing will be that the table one, the first table, will be across my open coffin. So if I'm not really dead,
Oh.
at the end, at halfway through the game, I get up and
The
just
problem
to
is the
scare
way
the
you're
shit
going.
out of them.
The way you're going, though, Rolex. I mean, that's going to feed the World Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say
tournament.
it'll need to be a World Cup, surely.
We'd have
Yeah,
to have a World Cup. Yeah.
maybe.
Look, I said I wanted to come back to this now that I've got all 3 of us here and chatting. Where does the collecting and the Blood Bowl fit together? Is it hand in glove? Is there tension between them at times? Do you
Can I
go to an
go?
event thinking, oh, I'll put up with the blooming Blood Bowl, at least I'll get to buy more dice, or at least I might get hold of that thing that fella said he might have?
Can
Does the
can I
collection thing drive you sometimes? Rolex.
can I go? Okay. This I didn't thought about it clearly for a long time, but you made me think about it when you started putting it. The point is, to me, this is Blood Bowl is a tabletop game played with collected and painted miniatures. So, to me, there is no Blood Bowl without miniatures. There's no Blood Bowl without collecting. There's no Blood Bowl without painting. I experience Blood Bowl fully when I collect, I paint, and I play with an opponent in front of me. The mechanic of Blood Bowl are available in other places, like Fumble, like Cyanide. But Blood Bowl as an experience as a whole, as I conceive it, as collection and playing with the feeling. And so collection is a part of Blood Bowl.
But I
For
mean,
me,
Rolex, I have bought
I
through eBay, and occasionally a friend painted them. I have almost all the races and teams now. I have a small bag of dice. I
yes,
don't paint. I will never paint things. Are you telling me that I am a blind man in the world of Blood Bowl because aspects of
I'm
this hobby
telling
are
you,
lost to me?
I'm telling you that you're not experiencing everything. You're experiencing the part you want
The
to
whole
experience.
thing.
You are experiencing the part you want to. So it's fine. But to me, there is another things. There is a is wider than that. There is a little bit more. And I tell you, if I told you how you could paint a team in 3 days in your free time,
Yeah,
it's just a matter of knowing.
but
Free
I
time. What's
can't.
that?
I don't have the hand-eye coordination. It would shame me.
You
I would
don't need
be
to. You do
embarrassed and ashamed of what came out.
if you use if you use correctly shades and contrast, you don't need coordination.
Well, look, I
You
plan
can
to do
paint
one
a
about
team.
painting, so perhaps I remain still to be persuaded to paint. But we will do an episode. We haven't talked enough about painting, so we will certainly cycle around
Yeah.
back to that.
I,
Um,
I,
I am not a great
Steve, Bim,
painter. I
let's
am
let's
not a
bring you in on
professional
this.
painter.
Where does the collection and the hobby and the game all come together in your heads?
I think what makes Blood Bowl special for me, because I play a lot of games, I think it is the community of people, and I've met so many people through collecting. I get particular joy helping other people finish their collections, and so that is sending stuff and them surprising people. It's great, isn't it? And the and I've met I've generally won new friends and I've got new friends through it, and putting it together. And I think it's it's at least 50%, mainly because I'm such a bad player, probably. I mean, my fumble record alone demonstrates that. After 700 games on fumble, I'm sure I'm that guy who's the veteran player when you're choosing. I'm the thing, not the rising star. But I still love it. But
I was going
it's
to say, does it matter? You found so many things in this game that you love. I mean,
yeah.
we'll
Exactly.
most people like a win more than they like a draw, and a draw more than they like a loss. But is it driving you as much as it's
No,
a?
I'm very happy with the draw, and I don't know if that's because I'm, particularly British about it, but it makes me at least I can walk away with a kind of oh well, that's okay,
Hmm.
not too bad. There's no atmosphere at all about winning. I'm not intensely competitive with my Blood Bowl game, but I do, yeah. So I think the collecting has amplified my love of it, hugely. I think over and above, but yeah, I will often I feel good about going to a tournament because of the swag. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? How do
Bim,
you feel?
where does it sit with you?
Yeah, wow. Yes, I think. Well, in fact, as Steve, as you said before, I would be collecting, even if I'd never heard of Blood Bowl. I've got collections of feathers that I find when I'm walking the dog. I've got collections of badges that I had when I was 8. I've got collections of all sorts of things.
My
So
grandmother,
yeah,
when she hit 85, my grandfather said, no more collections. She had about 8 or 10 different collections still in their small bungalow. So she stopped having collections and just started getting sets of things.
oh yeah,
Do you think
great.
that's you? Is Blood Bowl the current one, but there'll be more?
Yeah, perhaps that's part of it. It's just another phase in my collection habits that only time will tell.
Do you
Well, it's
think,
a
do you think
sad
does
collection.
it narrow down from dice to maybe just coins with their 2 options? Is that the next logical phase for you?
Oh,
Is it
right.
a
Yeah, no, I've got a few coins. I'm not really. Yeah, I'm not really. Yeah, there was something said earlier about yeah, your runners. I won't choose. I think it's probably hard to choose which Blood Bowl tournaments you go to for the swag because they don't all tell you what the swag is going to be.
yeah?
I'm sorry, Robert. There have been tournaments where I've come away with a few stickers and gone, well, at least I met some nice guys and I had a couple of good games. Um, but I don't go to tournaments for the swag. And the collecting personally is the byproduct, the kind of the bonus, if you like, of, of playing Blood Bowl. And yeah, as Rolex said, there are all sort of aspects to it, and I like to enjoy them all.
I mean,
Just
it's
maybe
great.
some of the aspects I enjoy more than others.
I mean, I wanted
Yes,
to, frankly, I wanted
fine.
to take the piss a lot more than I have this evening. But what's come across from all three of you is there's still a love of Blood Bowl that's underpinning all of this, and that the collection is very
Absolutely.
much a shine on the top. That it's something I do on top of loving my Blood Bowl, rather
And the
than
people,
the
yeah,
collection is what drives me now, and I endure the Blood Bowl to keep the
Oh
collection
no
going,
no.
which is maybe
Well,
what I expected to find.
well,
Oh.
absolutely. I can tell you, you have seen the photos, you have seen how I'm passionate about my teams, my collection.
Oh,
But
100%.
I about playing at tournament, playing at leagues, and about painting. I have the same passion for everything. Just I don't have as much time as I have for collecting. That is just buying stuff, gluing together.
Yeah. Look, we do need to wrap this up. I asked you for an hour and I've taken 2, which I am wont to do, particularly when we're talking about a fascinating thing. And I think a corner of the community that, particularly online, we just don't consider. I mean, I always joke whenever people are talking about, why have they done this, why have they done that? One of my traditional answers is, well, because we've got to consider that 90% of Blood Bowl is the painters. And that's who Games Workshop are selling things to. That's where their money is, that's where their margin is, and that the vast majority of people are painting, and that's how the game stays alive. Now, without those of us playing, I don't think the painters stay painting. But without the collectors, I mean, none of this stays going. There's a huge ecosystem that feeds into every other part of it. And online, we can just think, oh, well, why is it this stupid rule and this going on and this part of the game? And we forget that we're a tiny little corner. And there's all these other corners. There is 1,700 people in the Facebook Dice Collectors page. That's worth repeating. I mean, think about how many mates you've got, how many friends and likes you've got on Facebook. Blood Bowl Dice Collectors probably has more than you. I think that's incredible, and I think it's something about us as gamers and as Blood Bowl nerds and as a community where this sort of collecting is going on. And I think it's somewhat universal. Even people that don't think of themselves as Blood Bowl players, and I don't know how cued in you are, I think Rolex probably is, but to the Twitch community and people streaming Blood Bowl 2, a sort of decades-old rule set currently being shown on Twitch, because it's the most computerized version of Blood Bowl. There's a player on there who I did ask on this evening. Sadly, he works Sunday evenings, and I didn't give him enough notice, or else we might have been able to squeeze him in towards the end. A lovely man called Eliod, who plays some beautiful Blood Bowl and is very, very good at the Blood Bowl. And recently he's been a bit of a funk, and I think the reason is he's having to play as Eliod 2, because his Eliod 1 account is full. They only allow him, I think, 40 teams, and he's now made all 40, and he won't delete them. Because every single one of those is ones he has run through their 7-week season and into their end of season competition. None of them have won that competition, sadly. That's another one of the tales of Eliod. But he keeps them. And to me, that's as much a collection as anything you guys have got.
Yes, not
He's
physical, but it's a
no,
collection.
Perhaps in the modern world, this is the NFTs of the future. That's as much a collection. He cannot delete them. I mean, my Blood Bowl 2 account is simple. There is nothing there anymore. No, there isn't. There's a Goblin team. I've played one game on a Goblin team this season. So there's a Goblin team with one game on it. And there's a Rebel Clan team that I can't delete until the season's over. So there are 2 teams in my Blood Bowl 2 account. I mean, I'm pretty ruthless anyway about this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Always have been, because again, on Fumble, I've usually only got about 10 teams in total. Some people have. I remember when Krista extended that to 100 teams, and people instantly complained it wasn't enough. And so Eliod has run out of digital space for his collection of teams he used to play. He can't play them anymore because once the season they're involved in is over, they can't play in anything except in Open League, which no one plays. So they are literally just a digital history of something he did. And it's a collection. And some people in the chat will probably know more about that than they will about any of the stuff we're talking about. So it isn't just those of us that play in the real world that collect things. The digital guys do too. On Fumble, it's the same. There's people that have tried to play a game with every single team in the Secret League, which is 107 teams, which is why they want more than 100 teams to be able to be stored on Fumble. There's people that have got teams that they haven't touched for 10 years, but are sat there. So I think there is that inherently, I don't know whether it's part of the thing that makes us like this dice game or the variance of it, but there's a lot of collectors around in this world as well. And it's fascinating to talk to the three of you. Some of as I said, the pillars of these corners of collecting Blood Bowl, from the stuff, and I mean, I'm calling you the stuff, Steve. I know you've got all sorts, from dice to rule sets to teams, but you've got more of perhaps the tokens and the markers and all the other paraphernalia around Blood Bowl than the other guys. To the dice, which of course are so central to what we do in Blood Bowl, but for some of us, it's just something we don't think about. We roll a d6, but then you walk away with a beautiful set of dice that someone's given you, and it's got they're half red and half white, and they've got the Welsh logo on them. You think, well, that's kind of cool. And so next game you roll those, and they roll quite hot. And so then when someone gives you a set of the Scottish team, you think, well, I wonder if the Scots are as hot as the Welsh, and then you have a dice off, and suddenly you're that guy with 200 dice rolling each
Wales
one.
has won.
Once Wales definitely won. The Scots dice are dead to me. Dead to me. They weren't bi-coloured anyway. I mean, the red and the white of the Scots, of the Welsh, it was always they were always ahead.
The dice were stingy in 6s.
Yeah, I can't find ones that roll more 6s. I've tried, but so far, I mean,
they do exist, but they're not legal.
That was part of my thought as well. Is if I put more of the paint on the 1 with the Fumble logo, won't that make it heavier, and the 6 will come up slightly more?
You would just anger Naffle.
Yeah, you better watch out.
There we are. Just a little tiny moment there for those that think this is all about, toxicity and winning at all costs Blood Bowl. Yes, there's more Blood Bowl dice collectors than people play in CCL. Shepard, there's more people in the Facebook group. I think, as we've heard, some people are there just, like those of us that go and stand and point at train spotters on the platform. So hang on, I'm spotting a spotter who's spotting a train. Why does that make me better than them? I don't know. So some people are in the fumble the Facebook Blood Bowl dice collectors page, as Bim said, to collect dice. Some people are there to collect the 3 dice they want, and some people think it's because they'll get access to cheaper dice that way. It's never been my experience on Facebook. Things always tend to be a little more expensive. People somehow expect a Facebook premium. I don't know why. Okay, look, I want to wrap this up. We are approaching 2 hours. We've talked about the collections. We've talked about Blood Bowl. What do you want to say to the world beyond what we've shown them this evening? What's your message about Blood Bowl or collecting or being on this show tonight? I've done my wrap up, really. All I've got left to say is goodbye. So let's have some final words from you. Bim's looking thoughtful. Rolex was smiling 5 minutes ago. So I'm going to start with Steve and then go backwards to Bim. Steve, what's your goodnight message from the collector of all things?
Oh, treat people well, treat people fairly, ultimately, if you are a collector, you have a reputation, and treat people as you would like to be treated. I think with it, and it's amazing what you get in return, which is a lot of love and happiness with it in collecting.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, Steve. Thank you for sharing your war stories and your collection with me. That's been beautiful.
Pleasure.
Rolex, similarly, we've heard a lot from you about the modernity of design and things moving into a more inclusive world. That's great. What's your message for collecting with Blood Bowl?
Well, my message is that Blood Bowl is great. It has a huge amount of aspects. Enjoy whatever you want. Enjoy it to the fullest, and and just go on. And remember, always there in Blood Bowl there are no opponents, just friends. And remember also that I have more teams than you do, and you know it.
You certainly have more teams than I do, Rolex. Bim, let's come to you. What's your goodbye message? Roll a dice and tell us what it says.
I went to Trinidad on a work expedition a long time ago to go and learn to play steel pan and explore the culture around steel pan. And I was so touched by a message that I found there, which said, "One world, one people, one love." So imagine my joy, and I've since then I sign off my emails always with this, or sometimes an abbreviation of it. So imagine my joy when I find these pages and your good self amongst them. I would like to extend that to one collection.
Yeah. Well, that's lovely. One of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on is it is one world, one Blood Bowl to me. I want this podcast to be about all sorts of things, to cover whatever I feel like and talk to whoever I want to talk to. But one of the things it always set out to do was to say that we all enjoy the same thing. We all love the same thing, which is Blood Bowl, whether we play it online or whether we collect stuff about it or we play it on tabletop or we play it in a league or we just sit at home painting it and listening to occasional podcasts. And I know a couple of people that listen to this podcast who will never go to a tournament and will never play online. They just want to hear something about Blood Bowl while they sit and paint Blood Bowl stuff. Really go you. You're still part of Blood Bowl. You're still part of what keeps the game going, keeps us all alive. And I've loved hearing about these collections. I feel I'm dipping my toe into each of those, like having a little nib of absinthe but putting the whole bottle back on the shelf. I feel there's a danger there that I don't want to get too near to, because I do like a nice pretty set of dice and a lovely I feel like Charlie Victor should be sponsoring us, a lovely metal Charlie Victor thing or some of his new lovely skill bands, and I get quite excited in a way that I perhaps shouldn't at my time of life. There is something nice about Blood Bowl stuff and about dice and about teams, and I'm really glad I'm not at your level. So I'm taking this as a cautionary note. And with there, we are going to wrap up. Thank you to those that have been here this evening. It's lovely to have you in the chat. I haven't been able to get you in much because I've been doing so much clicking around. I hope it's been interesting. I hope we've described enough for those on Spotify, shown enough for those on YouTube. I'll be back in just a week's time where I'm not going to tell you the lineup just yet, but I've got 3 of the most toxic people in Blood Bowl, and they're going to come on and talk to me about toxicity in Blood Bowl. But that has been a One World, One Blood Bowl number 19. Very much thank you for tonight. And I will see
Good
you
night.
real soon.
Thanks all.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye.
And they've gone. Well, this is usually where I say, and that's where I'll stop the video. But they've all left, so it's just me anyway. So I guess I'll stop, really. Right, let's see if there's anywhere I can raid you on to. Andy Davo's playing some Blood Bowl, so's Artemis. And Jimmy Fantastic's doing the Dungeons and Dragons. I suspect lots of people are there already. I'm going to throw you at the Davo. I don't know what he's doing, but he's got 300 people there. So if you're not there, you probably should be. He's much more popular than we are. That was One World, One Blood Bowl, number 19. I'm not putting this bit up on YouTube, obviously. I put the bits where I look at least vaguely competent. Okay, you're ready to go. Thank you very much for that, and I will see you hopefully next weekend.